Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? This is Jeremiah. We are going to have another fantastic webinar, and this one's all about SketchUp. We are going to go through, show you a lot of our new plans for where we're taking our SketchUp plugin. It can be very exciting, but it is an Ask Us Anything. So while we, of course, have some stuff to show you, we really want to know how you're using SketchUp, what you want out of our SketchUp plugin. We're just this is your chance to interact with us, and that interaction should be that little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Stands for questions and answers. Get them typed in there. I'll get them all queued up, and we will get them answered. And of course, this is also being recorded, so you'll have a wonderful little reference to share with everybody else, where we answered all of your amazingly well thought out and well worded questions. So get typing on those. But that is all I have to get us going. I'm going to hand this over to Jake, who's going to take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Jer. And welcome, everybody. This is me, irrigation specialist on staff here. Definitely a SketchUp enthusiast. So, what we talk about today, I'm going to try not to get caught up in the weeds on different things, but again, you guys ask what you want, and we'll see where we can go. And one of the managers for the content team as well. So as we go through a lot of the things, I'd love to hear what we're missing, what we could include, kind of a thing, so that we can get our staff going on new content. We do have Alex joining us too, and he's just off in the background, but know that he's here to back me up on stuff as well. He is our SketchUp developer, so he wants to hear your guys' wants and needs as well. So just make sure to write those in. Um, a little outline today. Hopefully, we have time to fit in all the questions and all the different things in this hour. It's going to go by very quickly, but we really do need to um, just start by how we are installing the plugin. As things have been growing and things have been changing, there have been a few tweaks to how this is available. So we just wanted to make sure that we kind of knew. Oh, go back. Wanted to open this up and know that. And by the way, in the recording, this link will be available for those watching, but just basically going to our website and uh, going to the install planting effects plugin for SketchUp. There is a little link here to download the latest and greatest for what I will be showing off and what's available to you guys right now. You will not find it on the SketchUp warehouse right now due to going through some changes and whatnot. We're going to be tweaking a few things, so it does require a planting license to operate. So those of you who are watching this who are looking for a trial of whatever else, it does come with the planting effects plugin just in general. So um, I'm not going to walk through all of the steps, but it is step-by-step instructions once you download this RBZ on how you are going to install it for it to operate. You will see the ribbon. We'll go into that a lot deeper. But just making sure that you have a valid support ID and a valid library. Those are the important things to know as you're kickstarting this off. So I know we got some newcomers to the SketchUp plugin and some more veteran users of it. So we won't go too deep into that, but obviously let's make sure we know we got to install the plugin. We are going to be going into some newer features of, let's see if this goes, there it goes, of what we're doing roadmap wise for this coming year, but also what we've been working day in and day out on for uh, new content and new tools and all kinds of different things. So wanted to kind of sneak peek a few of those things and then kind of show what is available to you guys as it sits right now. And then, of course, just how to use the plugin itself, what the proper workflow between CAD and SketchUp is or could be. There's all kinds of different ways that we can do things, but hopefully I give a few little tips and tricks to kind of set you up for success on that. We will be releasing a little poll near the end-ish after we kind of go through all of our little uh, roadmap items and stuff like that. But please feel free to interject with questions and ask all that you can. I will try to explain what I'm doing and how I'm doing it the whole way through. So some of the new features we are trying to, this is just sort of a blanket statement, but across the board for our plugin for all of the different platforms that we function on, we're trying to standardize that a bit more. So what you've come to know and love in CAD, tool wise, functionality wise, we're starting to integrate those into the native plugins themselves. So in SketchUp to be able to do more planting design straight from SketchUp and have some of the fun tools that are in CAD. So Mimic and Copy Along are going to be right there in the new ribbon in the new plugin. If you got the up-to-date version, you'll be able to use those guys. What we're working on now and what I'll show you live is the new plant manager. So as those who have used the plugin before know, it's just I assign plants and they come over in SketchUp. We are porting over our plant manager so you can actually add new plants and manage everything directly from the manager itself, which gives us other tools like highlight to be able to highlight plants, stuff like that. So the align to face, this is not going to be available for anybody right now, but kind of a fun one that we've been working on and including additional tools in the future. And then, of course, new material and new content. So, new content wise, we're not going to go into everything that we've got, but what's coming down the pipeline, we've got over 130 trees and over 300 different shrubs to add to the library. So, still keeping things low poly, easy to use, face me. We're playing around with all kinds of different combinations of face me plants and 3D structured plants at the same time, kind of a thing, and just sort of expanding our library on that side. And then on the generic site content, we've done a big push. If anybody's using our elevation blocks in the system, any of the elevation graphics, or even the plan graphics for these types of things, we are porting all of those into 3D. So I'm going to show you how it currently works and what will be available to people in the near future. This dialogue is something that we're mocking up and having our eye on the prize from a functionality standpoint. But as you can see, we've got a lot of additional components and entourage that we're going to be offering that essentially matches our whole CAD block side of things, which is going to be very cool. We're really excited about that one. The material upgrades, if anybody's using the site tools right now, the site amenities picking from the manufacturer content, right now it's an image of the model itself, and you get to see the colors as you pick the options available from the manufacturer. But we have been toying around with this fun little guy to where you can actually preview what that model looks like before inserting it into the plan, not only from the CAD side of things, but once the 3D connection tool is used, to be able to see this model on the fly get generated as is. So we will go over the current status of how this just our color picker site amenities for manufacturer stuff works just in general, but we are making additional improvements, which I'm really excited about. And SketchUp, anybody who's um, kind of keeping up with the advancements that SketchUp is doing, they in 2025 and in a lot of the beta release stuff, they're introducing this PBR capability, this ability to render the images with the properties with metalness and roughness, and to be able to actually see the environment around the SketchUp model. So really integrating in with a lot of the render Lumion and stuff like that. It's not at that level, but it is a way to actually see what these materials are going to look like in your model. So we're working diligently on making sure that all of our stuff is going to have that capability as well. So it's pretty darn cool stuff. So just to get a little glimpse at some of the stuff that we're going to actually talk about live and show off. There's the highlight plant functionality from the plant manager. The copy along tool is actually pretty cool, and our align to face is a really fun one that we've been playing with. So just to give you a little snapshot about that. So we are going to dive in. As a reminder, please start asking questions about what you want to kind of go over just in general. But we're going to just sort of jump over and sort of start from scratch. And from scratch, I mean, you have already done a plan in AutoCAD. Um, and this process, again, there's going to be a lot of different ways that we can go about this, but as I've put together SketchUp models and try to work with existing CAD files in SketchUp and the dirtiness that kind of comes with some of the line work and stuff like that, I'm just going to kind of pitch some of the best practices when it comes to the line work that you start using for SketchUp. If anybody is new to SketchUp, obviously um, working in a 3D environment is quite challenging when you don't have planar lines to work with, and how do you connect things and make faces so that you can extrude and the whole gamut of stuff. So being able to start with a clean base is always going to be crucial. Now, this is a site that I used a Mosier device on to come up with the topography and everything else like that, and actually all of the existing concrete paths and stuff like that. So this line work essentially, we could call it, was taken from a survey and kind of brought in and used in this plan like this. So the architect gave me the house, the base file for this, and the property lines. Um, I'm going to go ahead and just say anything that you're given, you've got to do an audit on, whether that's uh, cleaning up their line work or using additional line work to use instead of their messy stuff. I made sure that all of my stuff was very clean, which means that there was no overlapping line segments and lines butted up against other lines, and I had clean connections between where I truly wanted to, make this SketchUp base file. It's going to make my life a lot easier. Proper layering is absolutely key. So in specific areas that I know I'm going to have to model differently, as we see here, maybe there's a seating area that is absolutely on a grade. We want to make sure that we have line work that is properly layered so that when we start sending this stuff over to SketchUp, we can work with these independent pieces more appropriately. So first and foremost, making sure that our units are properly set is obviously a given, because we want our SketchUp file units to match our CAD file drawing, just so that we don't have any discrepancies on inserting stuff at the wrong units and the scale is off. So just make sure that our units match from our CAD file to our SketchUp file. And I'm going to be bouncing around a bit. So you'll see me kind of swap over here. So I have a blank file that has nothing in it. I have checked my units and they are decimal feet, just like my CAD file. So that is going to be the primary focus of this, is just making sure that we're good. Now, we could, if we wanted to, insert the CAD file into SketchUp and just start going. But the coolness of our plugin, so I am on the FX Site tab. It is on the FX Planting tab as well. But this presentations tool is the 3D connection button right here. This is the tool that's going to fire the connection tools across the board for our Rhino, for our Revit, for our SketchUp. Obviously, we're focusing on SketchUp. Um, this, obviously, I've got a project assigned to this drawing. Again, we're jumping ahead a little bit just in file setup, so we do need to make sure that we have a project assigned as well. But I'm going to click this send layer button. So what's cool about this is I don't have to bring over everything in this CAD file. So if we're given a file that has just a ton of extra layers that we really, really don't want in SketchUp, SketchUp, it works off of poly count and different things like that. So the more line segments that you're bringing over that are unused, it just is taxing its working ability. So being able to actually isolate and selectively take stuff over. So I know I want to bring over my topography. The system's going to look at the plan, and in this example, I don't have things XREF'd, but we could click on layers within the XREF. But you'll notice that as soon as it said, okay, I've got everything on that topo layer noted, it says it's been noted and it disappears. This is a temporary hide that it does so that now I can start focusing on what additional things do I want to bring over. Well, I know I want this line work here, and that existing concrete has been exported. So it goes away. So I can continue to click on all of these additional things. We'll bring the house, of course. And I definitely want like the property line, probably, just to see what my extents are. I don't really care about all of the exterior property line stuff. I do want to take note of maybe all of my different areas of ground cover. Again, some of these things will be improved in the future, but to be able to take those boundaries of all of my different areas, my ground cover areas, is going to help split out and show that line work in my 3D model. We're not clicking on blocks. We're not clicking on any plants or amenities or any kind of block because that is going to be sent over as our design separately. But you'll notice that I actually built these planter beds just as line work. And that is because I intentionally wanted that line work so that I could use it to help stamp or drape into my terrain if I need to. So understanding your site, understanding the terrain, understanding what it's going to take to model specific things, you might need to draw additional line work in certain areas so that you can, so that it helps you in the 3D modeling side of things. So I'm looking here. This looks pretty good. I can hit enter and it'll pop me back over to this dialog box. I can hit export if I want to. I'm not going to worry about this right now because I know I have stuff in the drawing, but we haven't really talked about that. So this export and import is for these items right here on the right on what it's going to send out or bring back in. So we'll just cancel out of here. You'll notice that all of the line work pops back in and I'm good to go. So we're going to jump right over into SketchUp and ignore all my plugins. I am a fan of having tools efficient for the jobs at hand. I'm going to pull this guy down so that we can kind of focus on him right here. But this is the plugin. So making sure that it's installed is number one. The gear icon is going to allow you to set your support ID and your library location. The system needs to know where it's going to be downloading all of this 3D content. So setting that appropriately, all of those are in those steps that I linked to before. Um, just like in CAD, we need to make sure that we have the appropriate project set, the same project as our CAD file. So as long as those two are tied together, then this list of layers is going to be accurate for what is going to be brought into this drawing here. If you have the wrong project set, you could have a different set of layers, a different set of components sent over at different locations, and nothing's going to line up. So just make sure that you have that set right. Some new function for this layer import tool. We have the ability now to import these layers as groups, and this was a big push for me. I did a lot of importing of layers before, and it was a one at a time kind of thing where you clicked on it, it would bring in the layers and the line work, and I would select it all and I would group it so that as I brought in the next layer, it didn't connect to itself. And I do that on purpose because I want to be able to keep these things somewhat separate so that as I'm drafting with a particular layer, it's completely independent of all of the other line work. If we haven't worked in SketchUp before, as soon as you touch a line to another line, they are connected, and you cannot take those apart unless they are in different groups. It's not by layers that or by tags, as SketchUp calls it. They are glued together, and you are kind of hosed until you keep them separate. So with a group or a component. So import as groups is a new feature, which is awesome. Um, the other thing that we did, and I'm just going to click this now because it's going to take a second to chug through all these, um, is this import all, which means that I don't have to click each one and have the dialog close. We've improved it to where I can just simply click it and the system starts bringing in the layers appropriately. And you'll notice that it actually checks it and goes through and makes sure that it goes to each one and you know that you've done each layer specifically. So now that all of them are checked, this is a dialog that just sort of floats. So you do want to close it afterwards if you're done. But you can see that I've got all of my layers. If I go into plan view, this is essentially what we were seeing in CAD, but it literally just brought over those particular entities, and they're all separate now. So I can move this house around if I wanted to and know that it's not going to be stuck to any of my other geometry. What you'll notice is it does bring in the elevation as well. So the fact that our terrain was pre-assigned to a Z elevation is going to help in our next steps of modeling. If we don't have any Z elevations to our topography and we bring it over, it is going to be a manual process of getting it to the appropriate level. There are additional plugins that can help with that. We're not going to go into those, but ideally, it is easier to work here in CAD, and even if it is a longer process or a process to select one and set the Z elevation to it, it is easier to do here than it is in SketchUp typically. Um, So again, prepping that line work so that it's usable right out of the gate is going to be key. Um, so you can see everything is brought over. I'm going to close out of this guy. And now we just need to figure out what we're doing here. I I didn't bring this layer in. This was a previous layer from a different set, just as a in case somebody asks about it. But these are spot elevation points that I brought over instead. So to generate terrain differently. So, anyways, just right out of the gate, I can see that okay, I've got contours, but I need to fill it in. Um, a straight up simple way to work with this, and I'm going to double click inside of this group, and I'm going to hide the rest of the model so that we can see I do have a random line that didn't get put to the right elevation here. So we'll see actually where he was supposed to go. And you know what? I'm just going to delete him. We don't even want him. Look at me doing some cleanup. So, anyways, that's our line work. It's all little pieces of lines, and it's not usable here. But if I select everything and I go to the sandbox tool, I can go from contours, and this will automatically produce based off of those contours and that elevation. It will create a mesh for me. Now, it's not a clean mesh. It's not ideal, just in general, but it is usable if we wanted to do just a quick down and dirty version of some terrain so that we can start stamping some stuff on. You can see that it kept it in its own group, and obviously all of the contours are still there. So if we wanted to keep the contours, appropriate tags would make sense, and then we can just turn them off. I'm just going to delete them just so we can see what we got. You can see that the sandbox tool did create additional geometry here as it thought that it needed to reach back over to this area. So there might be some cleanup that you have to do to kind of get it back to the location that you want the terrain to be. Um, but it looks pretty good. We'll just keep it for now. That's totally fine. Um, I'm going to explode that since it was already in a group. So that's what I've got. Now, um, I am a fan of shortcut keys. So um, if you see me toggling things on and off, it's because I've got my show hidden geometry, hide hidden geometry as a shortcut so that I can quickly sort of see the terrain versus where my line work and stuff is. So um, that is what we've got. So very quickly, we can start to piece together this model. Now that I brought in all of those layers as what they are, I'm going to kick it up into the Z elevation so that we can kind of be above the geometry here or above the terrain. Um, might as well just grab all the rest of this and move him up above. So we have all of um, this separate line work that we can start doing something to. Um, and for time's sake, I'm just going to do this just very quickly to show some of the power of what this does and why these are important to be in groups. Is since they're in groups, I can select that group, I can go to the sandbox tool, and I can drape that line work onto the terrain. So if I were to go into here, you can see that it took all of that line work and it draped it where it could onto this stuff. Now, obviously, I wasn't clean enough in some of my line work because that that line work from CAD didn't have some of the closed line segments that we wanted because it butted up against the house. So again, an important step, even though it's uh, duplicate line work. Depending on how you're using this stuff, you should probably, um, do something to close off that line work so that the layer, when it comes into SketchUp, is usable within its own respective layer, so that it could close off itself. So just something to keep in mind on that side. But we're not going to worry about that too much right now. Um, we can go ahead and grab the house. Where did the house go? He's right here. And we can do that same drape onto this. And you can see that the system is now starting to be the entire plan, and it's cutting in what it can into these surfaces. And the cool part is that we don't need the surfaces, like underneath some of this stuff. Like, I don't need that line work, because what I'm going to use is actually this house right here. He's flat, he's perfect. I've got the appropriate layers and or line segments where I need it, and I can start. And I need to flip this guy around. I can actually start popping and pulling his stuff appropriately. I'll just pull up a few things here. And we'll even take this stuff and pull him down into something, whatever it is, right? So building our stuff allows us to actually now very quickly, since it's already in a group, start moving him down into the appropriate level of the terrain itself. So without having to worry about how to mesh the terrain to be flat and stuff like that, I can just drape and cut out pieces that I want to. So let's actually do that for this little seating area right here. So if we go ahead and drape him onto the surface, he's now cut out of there. I don't have to try to draw and cut into these multiple leveled faces, these planar faces here. I can delete him out, and with this guy, I can literally set him down into this spot, right? Getting him sort of appropriately put. And I can essentially raise him up and match the terrain. Oops. Match the terrain. Get down onto that lower face there and just push him down through and already be ready to go more appropriately for stuff. So that's what I did. Just in general with this, with all the walls and stuff like that. But this initial terrain allowed me um, to get me that base for that. So I'm going to pause real quick before we jump over into the amenities and stuff. Is there any questions?
We did have a really good question that just popped in, after you mentioned how much you love shortcut keys. Michelle just asked, well, how do you assign shortcut
There
keys?
you go. So if you go to on a Mac, I believe it's under SketchUp at the first of it, and under Preferences, or on a PC under Window Preferences, you go to Shortcuts and you type in what you want. So X-ray is a big one for me. So if you just start typing the command, it should pull open, and you add the shortcut here and hit plus, and it'll assign it there. So my hidden hide geometry, hide components, I've got different commands. Let's see, hide, edit, hide right here as Alt H, so I don't have to try to right click on something. I can just hide it if I select it. Or show hidden geometry is type show, and you can start to see what those are. So show components. I think is it hidden? Oh yeah, it is hidden. Hidden view, hidden geometry. So I have mine set to Alt E for that because I've got multiple things set to E in different ways. um, so that's how you do it. And then you can do that all day. Hide rest of model is one of my favorites because it allows you to get everything out of the way as you're viewing certain pieces. And so you're not like, get out of the way, terrain. I can just work on this or see it in context or get it out of the way just like that. So shortcut keys are the way to go. Um, all right. So that was a very, very loose show and tell for my final model. Okay, so I've got my walls in, I got my little seating area, I put those planter beds. So again, why I kept the line work separate is I actually, and this is relatively messy, so don't judge me. Um, I stamped those in and then deleted those faces out. And the reason that I do that is because land effects, as it's bringing in its plants and stuff like that, it's actually finding the first face, picture a plant growing from the ground up. Um, it's going to go, you know what? I need to place this tree on this hill, but I don't want to place it accidentally on the edge of the tree and drop it on top of another tree. So we find the first face that it intersects with and it drops it there. So if I had just placed these boxes just on this slope and kind of made it look like my terrain was uh, kind of cut in around it, it would actually be snapping that plant to the bottom of this terrain here. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to go in my planter bed, you know? So that is kind of why I did what I did in a lot of these areas is that terrain actually doesn't have any of the faces until I'm ready to, put that plant onto that specific face. So just another little trick to remember is stamping those additional things so that you can cut out quickly in areas is super helpful. So um, we will go back over to CAD really quick because I do want to show off our site amenities. If anybody is using just typical benches and their own stuff, that's fine. If you're using rough notes, that's fine. And we have the ability to, or we will have the ability to play with, um, all of that generic content here. But it is awesome the amount of supported manufacturers that we have. So a huge shout out to all of our supported manufacturers for this because you get to come into this, browse their catalogs of stuff. And this one is one of my favorite ones right here um, of theirs. But you get to see the different components and you get to see what that color looks like. So in that preview that I showed you at the beginning, having the ability to move it around is going to be just awesome. But for right now, having this ability to pick the colors and the style of the bench and stuff like that and simply add it to your project. It comes in with our a description. You set it up for the divisions and the style that you want, but that comes pre-populated then if I just simply place it with, and we'll place them over here. Why not? With this bench, with the CAD block and everything already put in. So once he's in there and I send this plan, Just export this guy. Come back over to SketchUp. We will use this next button here, the import option here. And I believe I haven't clicked on that. So give me 1 second while that opens up. Are there any questions until now? I see Jeff
Uh,
wants to know a
yeah,
list.
just still on shortcuts. Yeah, Jeff, wondering if you'd be willing to share your entire list of shortcuts.
I'm happy to share all the shortcuts that I have. I don't know if there's a way to port those out, but I
Well, you're just
will
gonna have to write them all down.
I
Come
will
on,
write them all
Jake.
I will write them all down for you, Jeff. That's how much you mean to me. Um, so we're going to go ahead and since there are components in here, it's going to kind of remove them so they can replace. Um, but what's cool about this is um, the system is going to automatically pull in anything amenity wise that you've placed in as a ref note. So that's going to be the kind of the power here is whether it's manufacturer based or just from the plan view amenity blocks, it's going to automatically tie. So all of these little guys over here in this little seating area are just some of our new generic stuff that will just automatically work and download on the fly. But we'll go ahead and import. The system takes and places everything exactly where it should go based on insertion points. So as you're creating your own stuff, obviously that's an important thing to note is insertion points to things are crucial. But just to be able to have those insert on the fly, let's show off the next fun new tool in the Land Effects tool, which is copy along. Um, this guy here essentially is um, like our copy tools, plant copy and copy along line and copy along polyline. It's all hybridized into one deal. The command line down here kind of gives you some guidance as to how it works. And if you were to shift or click shift, you can see the little icon changes. So this little guy means, hey, you need to pick a line. And this means, hey, I'm going to just start copying a thing along the way that you drag it. And you'll notice that the icon there will change based on the next option that I pick. If you look down in the command line, now I can use the arrows. If I press up, I can go to best fit or exact fit. So this is best fit. So the little icon shows beginning and end of the line filled because it's just going to go to where you go, and exact fit is going to go until that spacing stops. So at any given point, I can set my spacing. So I just type at every 15 feet and it will recalibrate that way. Or I can use the right and left arrows and just automatically have it increase or decrease in spacing as I go. So very cool way to just simply place those. So if I hit shift again, it kicks me into this where I can actually pick a line and it'll follow along that line segment. So it's a really cool like hybrid on the fly dynamic way to do stuff to place things there. So um, with that change of my design, I do want to just finish out the plugin itself, just from a functionality standpoint. We obviously need to match the CAD file, just layout wise, block wise, make sure that everything matches. So being able to export this design back over to CAD and simply import this time. And the system's going to automatically place those additional items where they need to go on the plan. So it's keeping track um, on the fly of where things are. So just as you're working in one, make sure that you export out so that you can import the newer changes that way. Um, we're working on additional ways to make that even more streamlined, but that is how it functions. So if we wanted to, let's just say, grab this plant here and randomly place a couple in there, just like that. And we send this guy back over. Come over here and we import. The system's going to automatically find those. Since I didn't have any faces underneath those, it automatically popped them in exactly where they needed to go for that. But say I wanted to change some stuff. Maybe I wanted to swap these out for something else. Maybe the client's like, you know what, I really like these guys right here, and I want those to be in this planter bed. With that selected, I can use my mimic tool and I can click on a plant and it'll automatically swap them out for that new one. So very, very quickly, you can make changes to your plan without having to reload or replace or do anything like that. It'll just simply swap it out. So I could select that guy, hit mimic, click on this guy, and it'll swap them out. Maybe we wanted to do a couple other deals here. So very quickly, we can start making changes to the plan. It just updates itself perfectly for that. So with that, I think we should just open up so I don't have to keep going back over to CAD. I'm going to open up the Ruby console because this is where this is live. This is a command that works. And so I'm going to say this with a very big caution statement that if you decide to type this command and you open up the plant manager, it is functional, but it is completely in beta, still testing and creation stages. So use at your own risk, but we would love to hear your feedback on it. So if you type land effects dot plant manager, it will open up what you're familiar with from CAD. So ground covers does not work. You can see the list of the ground covers that you have, but that is one of the things that are pending. Um, but here's the cool part is if you were to select one of these plants out of here, you can click highlight and it will actually select all of that plant in the plan. So very quickly you can select those and see where they are on the plan, whether that's to delete or to do something with. You can do that. So it's pretty darn cool that way. Um, Obviously, we can also do the select this guy and click the mimic and click on that, and it'll change it out for that plant that you have selected. So that tool does exist in the manager as well. But obviously, we're here to place some plants. So to be able to say new and browse our plant database for stuff, everything is kind of all pulled directly from that. So I'm in shrubs, so maybe we do a Photinia or something. Grab that guy, add it to the project, and you can see that it added it here. So I can go ahead and edit him, pick a plant. We'll just pretend like this is the one that I want, and maybe he's 5 feet. So now with him there, I can just simply start placing that plant wherever I want. And what's cool about it is at any given point, I can, select this. I have made V my copy along just because that is the same key command in CAD um, for that. So the cool part is you might mess up, right? You might accidentally put plants completely into space or something like that, and they're just not touching. Um, that's the beauty about uh, this plugin too, is I can export this out and immediately import it, and the system's going to think, okay, you know what, I need to replace all these, so it's going to reset and recalibrate where everything is in the plan. So a very very cool way to just get everything back to basics on that right there. So, oh man, we're running short on time. Do we have any questions?
We got a couple good questions. I think you can just real quick, I guess here's the quick one is generic amenities. They just wanted to make sure that you could, in addition to bring in the manufacturer amenities, you can also bring in generic amenities.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned, yes, you can. Right now, we just discovered a little issue where it is requiring the SketchUp component to have the same file name as the AutoCAD block.
Yep.
We didn't realize that was a thing. Where it's not letting you pick a different component if you wanted a component of a different file name. So that's scheduled to be fixed. But right now it does work as long as you have the SketchUp component that does match the same file name as the CAD block. So it can be any custom block whatsoever.
Yep. And what's cool is, again, like quite soon, I'm in the final stages of a lot of this stuff, but like picking through any of our existing stuff should literally let you, let's go pergola, and we'll just place this guy here. It should just literally be, well, that's a big pergola. We'll cover the rest of this driveway entrance. This will be fun. This is where this guy goes. Um, and just simply be able to export this back out and close this guy down, and we'll import. The system's going to automatically find those items, and hopefully I picked one that we actually had a thing for. I might not have. Oh yeah, I did. Oh man, the car is not going to be able to fit through there. That was a bad design choice. Um, but that's the cool part, is all of our stuff is going to have a representation of those on the fly already assigned to them. So as long as you're just picking from those, it goes. But yeah, if you're going to add your own generic ones, as long as they match the CAD block name and they land inside of your 3D library location, you're going to be golden. Um, so with that, any other questions?
Just someone did wonder if there was a way to export right into Lumion, and I just mentioned the little node process we
Export
have for
node.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
it's the best we have for that, and that's just a constraint of Lumion. But that's all. But yeah, you might want to, if you've got 7 minutes left.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going because I wanna show off this tool that unfortunately nobody gets yet, but I wanna maybe now's a good time to release our little poll just to kind of get a feeler out there for what people are thinking or would like as I'm doing this. But we have a tool that I've just been in love with lately, and that is, we all have, working in SketchUp, it's hard to manipulate, things to be exactly kind of where you want it. It might be at the wrong weird angle of something, and it's just hard to do and make look the way that you want it, kind of a thing. So we actually have a tool called Align to Face, and it allows you to pick a surface on a component or a group. And then once that's picked, it allows you to pick the surface that you want to go to, and it will automatically snap there. So I can very quickly reposition this rock right right where I want, um, and have it just completely match that angle kind of a thing. And if I hit escape, it unhooks it from that, and I can pick a different face to realign it to. And if that wasn't the way that I wanted it, I can just simply click that face and reposition it. And it is just awesome. It is such a cool tool, for a lot of different reasons, especially if, we've got a bench and we wanted to, and it was, placed sort of off kilter of an angle or something like that, and we wanted it to fall in line with something else. To be able to take, uh, a surface. Now, granted, these are all weirdly angled surfaces, so it would require maybe a quick little jot of a straight edge so that we knew where we wanted it to pull from, obviously. But uh, to be able to go like this and pick this face and go, I want it to be on this wall right here, and it goes to where I click. And I do have additional options. I can, be in line with that face, or I can flip it to the other side if I wanted to. Um, Obviously, that would be weird. But as soon as you got it to where you have it, there are additional plugins that exist to allow it to get back to where you want it, ground wise and otherwise. So, um, align to face is super cool. We'll go ahead and grab this little light fixture here, and I'll just grab his inside little mount spot, and let's just even place him right here, and it completely aligns itself to that face that you clicked. So very cool, very quick ways of being able to kind of work and go in kind of different aspects that way. So, um, yeah, I don't know if there's any other last questions. We got 3 minutes.
Nothing else coming in. It's your last chance to put in a
Okay.
question. I think the one thing I would just mention, um, I don't know if anyone has, perhaps noticed, but dialog boxes in SketchUp are HTML. That's how dialog boxes are created in SketchUp. And so, interestingly, as Jake showed our revised plant manager that we're working on, at the same time, we will also be able to pull up that plant manager from the portal, from the website. And so, kind of cool. We're kind of dual track developing. So as we pad out this capability for SketchUp, making the dialog boxes and the capability match what we have in CAD and in Revit, um, bringing them up to speed with those. Also, we'll have the ability to imagine that to kind of assemble your plant palette just simply through the portal. You don't have to hog a license by going into one of the other platforms. So that is
Yeah,
also part of our plan.
very cool. And there you go. In the time that you said that, I've brought in another layer that I can stamp in and make my own little pool area for this deal. So, um, yeah, if you could take that poll real quick. I don't know if anybody else needs to do it, but to be able to help us prioritize stuff, being able to see where you guys are at in the grand scheme of things, from what's most important to you, to least important to you. Playing around with a lot of different functionalities. SketchUp's coming out with a lot of new function, just in general. So we want to harness that where possible, but that means that we got to focus our efforts to what you guys want. I mean, I know what I want, but you guys are important. So, um, ahead and take that poll and say we call it a day.
Yeah, mine was kind of hiding behind my webinar window, so
Oh,
I don't
was
know
it?
if anyone else is experiencing that too, but I kind of it clicked on the window and then suddenly it appeared. I was like, oh wow, that was weird. But yeah, that'd be great. Absolutely. If you do have that poll, that'd be awesome to kind of answer that. That'll help us out. You're also welcome to just simply email us, and at any time, you can always send us an email or give us a call and let us know what you want out of SketchUp, out of future webinars. We absolutely here for your ideas and your wish lists. But that being said, everyone, I hope you have all of your holiday shopping done like me. I'm done with all of my shopping, and I only have 20 more presents I need to wrap. So, yeah,
Very
way
good.
ahead of the game. Way ahead of the game. But anyway, thanks everyone for attending, and please give us some more ideas for future webinars, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.